Time now for Back Pages Tonight, bringing you a first look at the sports stories in tomorrow's newspapers. And joining us tonight, Miguel Delaney from The Independent, Charlie Wyatt from The Sun. Evening to you both, gents, and we'll be speaking to you very, very shortly indeed. Let's quickly run you through the back pages as we have them so far. So we're going to start off with The Telegraph, which leads with the image of Stuart Broad celebrating his final wicket in cricket to seal victory for England against Australia in the 5th Ashes Test. Victorious by 49 runs, they draw the series 2-2. Bales never fails is the headline. Broad just trying a little bit of psychology and luck. Flipped the bails and managed to carry England to victory, taking those last 2 wickets, admitting that he couldn't have scripted a better end to his career. What about the back of the eye? Well, this is how it looks. They also lead with Stuart Broad's heroics in his final Test match with the headline, "What a way to go." The image of Broad celebrating taking the wicket of Alex Carey, who we had a few little, let's say, discussions with over the course of the series. By the way, also the Mirror leading with the Ashes. Their headline is "Stuperman. A brilliant England level, incredible Ashes. Broad's Hollywood ending was written in the stars as Stokes' Bazball has cut down Aussies." And, yeah, there's plenty more besides as well. The Sun also talking about this same story. It had to be Stu is the headline there. OK, let's start off then with the Ashes and the Telegraph as they focus on, well, what a day it was. Day 5 of the 5th Ashes Test looked like the rain might have its way, the most, I suppose, typically English way to end this series, but not to be. And Stuart Broad got the fairy tale finish that he wanted, Charlie Wyatt. I mean, you know, you couldn't have written it better. Broad announcing on Wednesday evening he was retiring and skittles out the last 2 wickets, including Alex Carey, to make sure that England drew 2-2. What did you make of it?
Well, as Ben Stokes said, you know, it was written in the stars, and it certainly seemed that way. And it was a, you know, unbelievable end to a brilliant series. You know, every day of this series was outstanding. You know, every session of every day was just, you know, amazing to watch. There were so many twists right down to this last session today, and of course, you know, this fitting end to a brilliant career. But, you know, I think that was just one of so many sort of subplots to a brilliant contest between England and the Aussies. The biggest shame is that it's over, isn't it? You know, it's a shame we couldn't have a couple more tests. Of course, you know, ultimately, you know, we had all this talk of Bazball. We wanted England to win this series. They've not been able to do that. And, you know, we're obviously left cursing those 2 days of rotten weather at Old Trafford. But I think a draw was probably a fair result, but England did outplay Australia in the last 3 tests. But again, today was very much about Broad and also a brilliant captaincy from Ben Stokes.
Let's just look at the back page of The Sun. So it had to be Stu. 2 wickets of Broad to win the Test, his finale written in the stars. I mean, Miguel, you'll have seen a number of different sporting feats over the years with your job at The Independent. And in terms of, as I mentioned before, fairy tale finishes, you know, what is it, more than 600 Test wickets, you know, almost 200 Test matches. I mean, this son's right up there, isn't it, in terms of, you know, him managing to make everything align so that England at least drew the series.
But what's the old Nick Hornby line in Fever Pitch, that real life doesn't produce last-minute winners, and similarly, it doesn't produce moments like that. And I mean, there's always that line, you couldn't script it. I think it's more so you wouldn't script it, because if something like that was in a film, it would feel cliched and over. Pretty well, a lot of sports films don't work. But when it happens like that, it's the uniqueness of sport, really, the way it kind of brings these moments together. And it was funny, actually, earlier on, and this, I suppose, leans into what Charlie was saying about the way it's really captured the imagination of the country this summer. I had it on in the background as I was sitting there kind of working away this afternoon, and just the roar at the moment from like all the houses around me, which, I mean, even throughout this series, kind of, I hadn't heard responses like that or experienced responses like that. And again, I suppose it's why we're all here, why we're all watching for moments like that, well, why we're all speaking tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is why we do our jobs, isn't it, guys? Let's just look at the back of the Mirror, shall we? So this was Stuperman, the headline, a Broad's Hollywood ending written in the stars. I mean, listen, you know, headline writers, you know, this is relatively easy for them, given what happened. Bazball is cutting down Aussies. I just wonder as well, how significant that England stopped Australia winning an Ashes series on these shores yet again. They haven't done it since 2001. They won't have another chance to do it, Charlie, until 2027. I mean, trying to make this a little bit of fortress, knowing that England in these conditions can at least get a draw against the Aussies. And they'll be thinking, well, do you know what? In 2.5 years' time, if we get everything together, we build this momentum, maybe they've got a chance of getting that earned back.
It was vital for Ben Stokes not to lose. At the start of this series, he made some courageous comments about wanting to entertain. He got a bit of stick for it, quite rightly. Quite a few former England internationals were saying, well, it's winning's more important. So I think if England had lost this 3-1, it'd have been a real blow. But he was courageous throughout. He was a terrific captain. 13 wins from 18 tests is unbelievable. And let's not forget Chris Woakes here, because he was the forgotten man at the start of this series. He didn't even play in the first two. So to get 19 wickets from the three matches. And today, while it was all about Broad, let's not forget he had a really important part to play, a crucial part of the afternoon, just when it looked as though, particularly when Steve Smith and Travis Head, and then we had the rain delay for a couple of hours, and it looked again, it was swinging back into Australia's way. So again, so many brilliant stories. It's given England some real more fire. Of course, it'll be India in the winter. And I think it was great for Test cricket, certainly for England and Australia. I think the biggest hope is that maybe some of the other countries that aren't taking it so seriously these days, outside the three that I've just mentioned, will look at it and just see how incredible a Test cricket still can be.
Yeah, absolutely. On the back of the Times, that's how you say goodbye. And look at that picture as well. Broad waving to the crowd. The final two wickets, stump in his hand. Broad conjures one last magical spell to seal epic victory and level Ashes series. I do wonder, though, I mean, Stuart Broad obviously saying goodbye. Don't know whether James Anderson will be around in 2.5 years' time to take on Australia in their backyard. We know Moeen Ali is definitely retiring this time around. But you mentioned Chris Woakes, Mark Wood. Do you sense, Charlie, that there is this new generation taking over from two of the greatest England bowlers ever, and that they can, just make that transition successful?
I think we're in pretty good shape. I don't think anyone certainly expected Moeen Ali to play any more than this one test. Let's not forget Zach Crawley, 189 against Old Trafford. That was brilliant. So I think there's quite a lot of room for encouragement, but equally, I think we've got to really salute a couple of great careers, particularly Broad. But let's not forget, I think the man of the moment, or the man of the series for England, is Ben Stokes. He's not been afraid to make big decisions, sometimes some curious ones. Of course, there was the declaration on the first day, and sometimes these gambles will pay off, sometimes they won't. But we've got someone who really is ripping up the rule book, to a degree. Certainly very brave, and as a result, we've had some really exciting cricket. And let's hope this is just going to be continued, and then going into the Ashes, as you mentioned, in 2.5 years' time. And you can bet that we certainly won't be getting an embarrassing repeat of the last time they went down under and were hammered. I think it was 4-0.
4-0 last time. Yeah, that's right. Just one more to you, Charlie. I mean, you mentioned it before. A little bit of a break, then over to the white ball game, and it is that 50-over World Cup in India in October and November. How well are England set, do you think, now with that second big commitment of 2023?
It's tough, isn't it? And even those that are involved. Let's not forget. Well, I think today was fabulous, particularly for the bowlers. Right at the end. The fifth test of a series. There's some real aching limbs there. Particularly for the bowlers. I know Woakes hadn't played in all five, but there'd be joints be hurting. They'd be having various issues. We know Ali had a groin problem again. And, those who are going to continue, it is tough. It does have a real impact on them. So, it is physically draining. So I can see why a few of them will have a bit of celebrating tonight with the Aussies, by the way. And apart from the Bairstow stumping, which was controversial, I thought generally it was played in great spirit, and I think both teams deserve a lot of credit. And apart from sounding incredibly noisy, I thought the Oval crowd today were really respectful to the Aussies at the end as well.
Yeah, absolutely. They always play their part, don't they, in South London?